Alright, so this is Bayonets and Tomahawks, French and Indian War from GMT Games. Second game on this topic that's been produced by GMT Games, the other being the more, the famous, I should say, Wilderness War. It's been around for some time. I don't remember the year it was first published. It's been through at least 2 printings. And both of these games are excellent in their own right. I would say they are both about the same in terms of complexity. This game it was more complex than I thought it would be. And maybe it's not more complex, maybe it's just the fact that there's a lot of different things in how the game works. So the rule book's about like 21 pages, something like that long, and full color, all of that good stuff. But I thought I'd show you a little bit about how the cards work in the game, because this is not a card-driven game. Even though it has cards, they function a little bit differently. And these are draw piles, these are discard piles. And we are in the action round segment of a year. And so during the action round segment of the year, we're going to be drawing from our main campaign deck. During the yellow action rounds, we're going to be drawing from the cards here, which have the yellow build-up notation in the lower left-hand corner. So whenever you discard them face down. So we are in the section of the game turn where we're going to be using from the main decks. When you draw a card, we're going to draw one for the French, we're going to draw one for the Indians. The French and Indians both get a card. We're going to look at them. The Indians are just going to get whatever they drew. The French are going to have the opportunity to either play this card that they drew, or they can stuff it in their reserve and use the reserve card that they've held from before. That would be their gameplay. So you're always ever choosing between this card that you drew or one that you previously drew. So if I keep this, that'll stay in my reserve. If I decide to reserve this, then I have to play that one. It's really simple. The die roll symbol down here just shows the order in which these cards are going to be executed. High die roll goes first. If the die rolls are tied, the French will go first. So there you have it. That's just a glimpse at the card interactions. As I said in the last video, the card interactions, you don't have a hand of cards in the game per se. I guess you could consider your reserve to be your hand of cards, but it's not like there's a lot of secret information. So this does lend itself to solitaire play a bit more than Wilderness War would. Having said that, there are qualities to both of these games. They're both excellent games. If you have the opportunity to own both, I would say get them both. All right, there's something else going on with the cards that you should know about. Some of the cards will have an event on the top of the card. If it says at start, then the event is triggered at the very start of the turn before anyone carries out any of the actions that are on the card. Once the at start events have all been resolved, then you resolve the actions, and that is denoted by this stripe. You have a triangle action, and you have a 2x square activation on the French card here. Indian card has a at start event, and it also has one Indian action. The Indian actions can only activate triangular green striped Indian units. So this card allows you to activate one Indian unit to move, to raid, etc. Or you can activate an entire stack of Indian units. It has to all be Indians of the same nation. And that will only apply if you've gotten the Iroquois Confederacy or the Cherokee on your side. The other tribes are only represented by one counter. Now, how the actions work on the French is a triangle allows you to activate a unit or a stack of triangular units, and you can move them around the board. There's movement limits to them. They typically are going to move 3 spaces. If they take a commander with them, which are these little square pieces with the little half-moon shaped crescent on it there, then they can only move 2 spaces. Square actions allow you to move square-shaped pieces, triangular pieces, round pieces, pretty much any pieces can be moved by a square action. The 2x notation means you can move them twice as far as they normally would go. So this will allow you to move 1 stack of units twice their normal movement rating. Okay, so for the British, it's their turn to pick a card. While their French opponent is trying to figure out what they're going to do with their cards, the British will draw their own card, see what it is, and this is really not the draw they were hoping for. This is actually a really good card. The only problem with it is the particular event says if the French VP is not at 3 or greater. Well, Louisburg didn't quite fall the last turn, so the VP marker is still in the 4 slot on the turn track in the French's favor, so they would lose this very, very powerful event. To get the Iroquois on side is huge. Plus, look at all the actions you get. 1 triangular action to activate your light units. You got 4 brigade activations. That's the square ones. This one that's got the little anchor symbol in it, that means you can activate a stack of units and you can do naval movement, which means you pick them up from a coastal spot. They got to have fleets to transport their units. Each fleet unit is like that guy there. Each fleet can transport 4 units. They go into the Navy box. On the following action round, before you do any actions, all the pieces that are in this box get to land anywhere that they're legally able to land. So this is a really good card. The problem is, you'd say it's a no-brainer, just go with your reserve, right? Except that they've been holding Cherokee diplomacy in reserve, which means that this card here, I was holding on to this thinking that the British would want to play this a little bit later in order to get the Cherokee on side. If I'm forced to choose, the Iroquois is the better alliance. You're going to get 3 Indian units, only 2 Indian units down here with the Cherokee, and they're not as much in position to help the British as the Iroquois are. So I think we'll probably go ahead and play this guy. Now this has got a 2x light unit activation, which means our light units can move up to 6 movement points. 1 stack of units, or a single light unit for that matter, can move up to 6 movement points to either just move or to raid. You got a naval movement and a regular movement. So that gives you an insight into the interaction, the decision making, and these decks all get randomized before a scenario, so every game's different. Okay, so what I've done is I've got the card selection for the French. I decided to hold on to Rough Seas because the event here could be useful later on when right now there's not a scenario where I foresee the British embarking anyone. But once Louisburg falls, that's inevitable at this stage, this could delay any subsequent landing further up the St. Lawrence River. Now, they can't land up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence until Louisburg falls. None of the coastal areas beyond this line are open to the Royal Navy until after the fall of Louisburg. So you really got to take care of that business there. That opens up the whole board to them. So I put that in reserve. Played this right here, and then what I like to do is I like to put a spent token for each of the actions. Oh, this is a split action. With this action, you can choose to either do a light or a square action. You can use it either way. It gives you flexibility. I'll show you why that's important in just a second. And then I'll put one here for the Indians. So there's basically, they're going to have 3 actions to do during the turn. And a high die face means the French are going to go first. In all likelihood, that is. All right, the cards are all revealed simultaneously, and then you would look at the numbers. But, you know, the 5 in the French, unless the British throw a 6 card down, they're going to go first. So, played Cherokee Diplomacy, so I'm going to take 3 tokens and put them on this. The event does not occur because it does not apply, so they won't get control of the Cherokee. And so the spent tokens, I'll just put them on here, and then as I do each action, I'll put the spent token upon that stack. And that's kind of how I keep track of what actions we're doing, where things are in the course of the game. Now, because the French are going to go first, you know, boy, the British, they got just as many actions as I do. I don't want to. I really don't know how to defend against what they might do to me. So what you can always do is you can always take one of the French actions, and instead of doing it, you can choose to put down a, looking for the token for it, but you can put down a reaction token. And, oh, here it is. This is the one I'm looking for. So this is the reaction token I will probably use on this card here. On the Force March card, I'll probably use that as a reaction token, meaning I won't take this action during my go. I'll just take the light action, do it, do the Indian action. The British will then do all of their actions, Then it'll come back to the French, and they're going to get the last go with their reaction. That gives you an opportunity to answer any of the British moves, and it also makes the British cautious with their actions. Do they need to guard against some surprise move? Have they left themselves vulnerable in some area? So it's really a cool mechanic. I really like some of the things in this game. There's so much here to explore.